Welcome into the PHNX Suns podcast, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Lindsey Smith here with Saul, Bookman, Espo, and Gerald Bourguet. Welcome in, gentlemen. How you feeling?
Gerald Bourguet is what it is. Let's go.
I felt like Lindsey wasn't quite sure that Smith was her last name.
Hey, she's like Lindsey Smith?
I said Lindsey Smorth the other day when I was practicing for my Ryan House event.
Lindsey Smorth, yeah. Everybody. That's 3 times. Lindsey Smorth has won more Emmys. I bet you didn't know
There you go. All right. I think we should start with a quick update from Gerald, who was at practice today. Is DeAndre Ayton okay? That's the most important thing we all need to know right now.
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
Monty said, DA told us that he was fine last night, but you kind of want to see with a head injury, that type of thing, a shot to the face the next day, if there are any lingering effects. Monty said they didn't do like a full practice today, but he was fine. He was a full participant in whatever they did. So
Did Monty confirm what Ali LaForce reported last night, that Willie Green is his bestie? Did we get that confirmation?
We did not get that confirmation today, but they are really good friends. They've both talked very positively about each other. We talked to Willie Green last night before the game, and he was saying, that's my brother. And he was appreciative that he got Monty's vote for Coach of the Year, because he obviously voted for Monty for Coach of the Year as well.
We were debating on whether or not they were besties.
I don't know if they're besties. I don't know Monty Williams' social life.
Knowing Monty Williams in small amounts, of course, I would say if he had to name a best friend, it would be his wife. 100%.
I would guess that.
I like that Gerald said Monty talks nice about him. So I assume if that's the barrier for entry to be Monty's good friend, I could probably be Monty Williams' bestie, right? I don't think he's ever said a bad word unless you're a ref, and then even that's kind of dialed back.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who he's never really badmouthed anyone. He makes jokes with us, but at our expense sometimes. But that's about. It was funny today. Dwayne was, I think, on his phone. He had recorded something to Monty, and it started playing in the middle of a media review, and he just kind of looks at him and he goes, "Instagram, huh?" He just loves to roast us sometimes.
He does. Gotta love Monty and his dad joke type of humor. It's always fun.
Don't you rip the dad jokes,
for real.
I didn't say anything
better than
negative
that. What was the one that you had last night?
What
was the one that you had last night that was terrible?
That we both high-fived about?
We were talking about the beach area outside of the arena,
and I said, I
wonder if they have any fans.
We killed that one, buddy.
Yeah.
Terrible.
All right, let's get into a little bit of Suns-Pelicans action. So Sunday night, obviously the Phoenix Suns picked up game 1 of the series against the Pelicans with a 110-99 final. It was technically an historic night for some players on the team. We'll start with Chris Paul. So per ESPN stats info, Chris Paul is the oldest player in postseason history with 30 points and 10 assists in a game. That distinction was previously held by Steve Nash, also for the Suns, in Game 1 of the 2010 Western Conference Semis.
And that's not all, Lindsey. There's more. Chris Paul became the 5th player with 10 career playoff games of 30 points and 10 assists, joining LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Jerry West, and Oscar Robertson. So that's quite the neighborhood to be in.
Is that it? Is that all we have?
For Chris Paul, yeah.
For Chris Paul?
Yeah.
It's okay. No, seriously, like Chris Paul, that 8-minute stretch of Chris Paul basketball might be the best basketball you'll ever see at this level. I mean, we've seen great performances before, but the methodical way by which it was just so nonchalant. Like, yeah, I could do this anytime I want to, just so you know. It was just unbelievable. It was really unbelievable.
And we've had questions this year at various times about, whether Chris Paul can still be that guy in those moments, because he doesn't really look for his shots. Like, we've seen him take over fourth quarters throughout the regular season, but never to like that degree where a team was coming back and he just decided like, no, you're not. Like, it's over. They went under a couple screens. He hit 3 threes. He found JaVale McGee for a dunk. He found DeAndre Ayton on that one pass that slipped out of DA's hands and then immediately stole the ball back. And he was getting to the rim. He got like 3 layups, which Chris Paul never gets layups anymore.
He had that burst.
Yeah.
He had a burst. And they tried to put several different dudes on him. And each time he was like, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Icon de Perfume, however you want to say it.
It's Icon de Parfum.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll never be able to say that. He said last night CP3 was like when you help your kids with their homework and just say F it and do it for them. It did feel like that. It was just, okay, I've seen enough. It's my time. And look, obviously historic from what he did, but even the eye test tells you we're watching something truly special. So,
and that is the difference between, in my opinion, him and Steve Nash, is that Chris Paul deals a little bit better with the physicality on the offensive side of the ball. And then, I mean, defensively, he's a much better player anyway. So that's the separator between him and Steve Nash. And like last night, that pass he intercepted looked like it was intended to go right to him anyway. And he just was like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah.
No big deal. And then he knew he was about to get fouled, so he just, all right, foul me.
It was like a perfect pick 6.
Well, we talked about this at lunch, Saul, but when I watch something like that, the way Chris Paul plays, I think to myself, it would be a damn shame if this guy doesn't get a title. And I never felt like you always wanted the Suns to win with Steve Nash, but I never felt like if this guy doesn't get a title, it's bad on the game. I feel like if Chris Paul doesn't wind up being a champion, it's bad on basketball, because there's not a guy that works harder, that just looks so naturally gifted out there. I know I have a vested interest, but I'd like to see him win a Larry O'Brien is what I'm saying.
Well, this is like if he were to win a title, because we always talk about greatest point guards of all time. Obviously, Magic is usually top of the list. Steph Curry's in there. Isaiah Thomas is a guy that likes to be, his name is thrown out there a lot. But like
John Stockton met the criteria. Okay,
oh God, just don't even get me started on that. But I think Chris Paul, like a ring for him would do what Dirk Nowitzki's first ring did for him, or what Kevin Garnett's first ring did for him, like fully cement their status as all-timers. Like, we already know Chris Paul is an all-timer, but to be in that elite group of, top 25, top 30 players ever, that's the one thing missing from his resume. And it would be a pity if he didn't get there. And I think last night's performance indicates he's very much on board with the idea of getting one.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That was his first 30-point game of this entire season, right? He didn't have any in the regular season?
Nope. Picked a hell of a time.
Right? Game 1 of the playoffs. He's like, I got this.
Yep. It's like Devin Booker with these 7 threes in a game. He can't do it in the regular season, but has it in the playoffs already.
Triple-double as well.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's when it really matters. So why have that happen in the regular season? What's the point? So yeah, exactly.
Pace yourself.
Any other thoughts on Chris Paul last night, just in general, and what you'd like to see maybe for game 2?
No, let's get to the actual historic night last night. There's a more historic night that happened.
We don't need to pussyfoot around this. Let's just get to the real meat and potatoes of why we're here today.
Oh boy.
Go ahead, Espo.
So according to our friends at StatMuse, Jae Crowder had the most historic night anybody could imagine.
Oh God.
He became the first starter in NBA history with a quadruple 1 in a playoff game. 1 point, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 block.
A quadruple-single.
They're referring to it officially at StatMuse as a Jae Crowder. I think that's a lazy name, but fine. I think it should be a boss man 11111, but that's just me.
Yeah, they definitely could have brought a little creativity to it.
This is why Espo doesn't run our branding. Right.
I think they could have brought a little more creativity to it.
I like it. It's a Jae Crowder. If I said, oh man, you just pulled a Gerald Bourguet, would you like that?
Well,
Depends on what it meant.
I'd have to cut the legs off my pants to pull a Bourguet.
Listen, last night I don't think we spent enough time talking about how great Jae Crowder was on the defensive end of the side of the ball. We kind of bagged on him for only having 1 rebound and really kind of bagged on him for his stats. But if you look at the totality of what he provided for the Suns on the defensive end, he did a fantastic job, especially guarding Ingram and bouncing around, helping, switching. He did a great job. So a quadruple single, I don't know. I don't really view it as a negative as I might have last night in the moment.
I feel like that's Jay in general, though, because he'll have these games where offensively he's not there, and people are like, oh, it's time to start Cam Johnson. I think he's always been overlooked for the swagger and the defense he brings to this team and how important it is in that starting lineup. So I'm not surprised that it happened last night. I'll say that for it, that it wasn't surprising that it got overlooked. But, man, he is impressive in the little things he does. And until you get that second viewing of a game, a lot of times you do miss that in the way you look at it. And what was it? Nekias Duncan went through and broke down a lot of film, and that when you take that second to go look at the specific plays he's doing on defense as part of the larger scheme, you really can appreciate the little things he's doing.
I actually asked Monty about that today, about his defense on Brandon Ingram, because it was, we talked a lot about Mikal Bridges and how he was following CJ McCollum all over the place, but Jay was kind of doing something similar with Ingram, held him to, I think, 6 of 17 shooting. And so I asked Monty about it, and he was saying, look, we talked to him about, just making it tough on him, because Brandon Ingram's a long wing. He's going to hit some of those shots. That's what he does, hit some of those turnarounds, those faders. But Jae Crowder did a phenomenal job just sticking with him, being all over him. And that's kind of what he brings to the table. I know he shot 0 for 4, but he didn't get a ton of shots. He didn't. I think the rebounding thing you could talk about. Maybe they need to be better. I actually asked Monty, because when you're a defender and you play the Suns defense the way that they did in the first half, that takes a lot of energy. So sometimes when you're playing as a defender and your guy shoots and you see it go up, it's your natural inclination to be like, whew, okay, I'm done. The shot goes up, I'm off the hook. And I think that kind of played into a lot of some of the offensive rebounding struggles, because these guys were exerting a ton of energy just following these guys all over the court. And I think that's something that maybe we'll see adjusted in game 2, is being a little bit better about hitting first and having that hit first mentality Monty talks about.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into adjustments, though, let's keep talking a little bit more about this defensive effort from the team last night. Charles Barkley said that Sunday night's defensive performance from the Suns was arguably one of the greatest defensive performances he's ever seen. Mm-hmm. Agree or disagree?
The first half, certainly.
Yeah, the first half for sure
was lockdown. I mean, they came out with a mission and they accomplished it. 34 points in the first half. I mean, from any team, holding a team to that is pretty damn impressive.
65 points in the second half will tell you otherwise, though. And that's the issue. So I would not agree with that. I've seen other defensive performances by other teams that were more of a complete defensive effort. And so the Suns got plenty to clean up. 38%, the Pels shot 38% last night. You would take that. You would take that if you're the Suns. But we know that first half was more of a mirage than it was reality. They can shoot better than that. They had plenty of open shots. Forced open shots based off what the Suns wanted to give them. Obviously we want to take that into consideration as well. But I don't think the Pels are going to shoot that bad again the rest of this series. Or if they do, this is going to be a 4-0 sweep easily.
Yeah, and in Charles's defense, he said that on the halftime show. So it was in regards to the first half, which
thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. I just saw the tweet come out about the game. So thank you.
22.4%, I believe, was what the Pelicans shot in that first half. And we talked about it a bit last night, but that is in part Suns defense, and that is in part bad freaking luck from the Pelicans on some of that shooting. We knew it would correct, and that third quarter was that kind of market correction, if you will. If they keep them under 23% again in another half, I'd be shocked. I don't foresee that happening again the rest of the series. So.
No, because they're an NBA team. But I think they were 4 for 18 on uncontested shots in the first half, which 18 is not that many uncontested shots. So I really do think, and especially when you play that kind of defense, even when you do generate those kind of shots, it's still in your head. Like, okay, finally I have a shot. I got to make this. And I think that increases the pressure of those types of shots that should be gimmies.
We can't talk about defense without talking about Mikal Bridges, of course. So from Andrew Lopez on Twitter, per ESPN's stats info, the Pelicans finished 2 of 16 with Mikal Bridges as primary defender, including 0 of 9 from CJ McCollum. Now, CJ did finish the game with 25 points, but he shot 36% from the field, and he attempted 25 shots Sunday night. What are your thoughts on just how Mikal Bridges continues to play some of the best defense that we've seen?
Well, there was talk on the broadcast that CJ McCollum had been sick the day prior. I don't know if you heard that out there. So I don't know how much that played into it in his overall performance. But we've seen this before. When you look at the specific defense that Mikal Bridges is playing when he's one-on-one against a guy or any guy on the team, they usually shoot pretty poorly. That's the thing. But so it does not shock me that Mikal one-on-one forced even a good shooter in CJ McCollum to have a rough night. That's what he does. It's how do the other 4 guys on the floor with him defend as well? And I think that's last night, at least in that first half, was the difference. It was those other 4 guys were working in concert with Mikal there.
I just think that the Suns are just an overall good defensive team, especially when they lock in. We had some trash tweet last night about how the Pels weren't taking advantage of the Suns' weakest portion of their defense, which was Devin Booker, according to this guy. And I'm like, well, they can't take advantage of him for a reason. They got great overall team defense, and Book is a much improved defender. Like, you're not going to be able to just do whatever you want against Book like you could maybe in 2016. Like, this is 6 years later. Wake the fuck up and understand what you're talking about before you step to tweets that are irrelevant. Like, this team is such a great, fundamentally sound defensive team, and their schemes and the way they force you into uncomfortable positions take you to another level. And then you add in a guy with freak athletic ability and length like Mikal Bridges, and you're in the conversation for like best defensive teams of all time if you're locked in. And then what happens there? You switch, and then Jae Crowder's guarding you, and then you get to the basket and DA's right there. Like, you're completely effed everywhere you turn.
Yeah, I've used the word amoeba to describe this defense before. Just the way they're able to switch and rotate is unlike any team that's in the NBA right now. I know they didn't wind up as the number 1 defense this year, defensive rating wise, but it's because they rested a lot of guys down the stretch. And I just think, we asked Mikal about it today as far as, being a defensive player of the year finalist. And he said, like, I'm honored, but at the same time, like, it's about the 4 guys behind me too. And, we saw that last night with as often as they were trying to screen Mikal Bridges to get him off of CJ, to give CJ some breathing room, then you've got DA stepping up, or you've got Crowder, or you've got Torrey Craig, you've got Cam Johnson. Like, they have all of these different wings that can just switch and give you problems. And then you've got Chris Paul, who should be, a liability at his age and his size. And he's coming through with 3 steals, stripping balls, getting deflections. Like, there is no weak link on this defense anymore. It used to be Devin Booker, 3-4 years ago, but that's not the case anymore.
The crazy thing is that I saw last night, and I've seen all season, I'm really for the last 2 years, is teams think that no matter what, if they can switch up and get one of their bigs on Booker or Chris Paul down low, or even Mikal Bridges, that they're going to be okay. And at least for Chris Paul and for Bridges, or Chris Paul specifically, he's got like that country strong strength where you don't realize how strong he really is. And Mikal, like, it's almost a mismatch the other way because he's so quick with his hands. He understands where you're going to go. His body positioning is always in phenomenal position. It's unbelievable. Book, it might be the least of the 3, and even Book has gotten so much better at positioning himself to not just give turnaround little hooks. Like, he forces them to take uncomfortable shots, and that's what this team does all the way around.
Yeah, what I love, to your point about the defense, is Unlike what we saw with the Pelicans, where Chris Paul or Devin Booker would get the mismatch that they want, and this team does this to every team. It's not just against the Pelicans, but when they get the mismatch they want, there's nobody you can get a mismatch like that on the Suns. Because DA can even step out onto the perimeter when necessary, and if he winds up in a switch, he's good enough to keep a guy in front of him. So there's no way to get a mismatch with this defense, and that's what's so beautiful about it. And Mikal it starts with him, because there's not a guy that he can be mismatched against in most cases. I mean, he had a block against a center last night. I mean, that's how crazy Mikal Bridges is on the defensive end.
Okay, so there's a couple things going on in the chat right now. So JU said, isn't Book like top 3 in his position when it comes to defensive rating? Phoenix Suns 22 said Book actually has one of the worst defensive ratings. Do you happen to know, Gerald, off the top of your head, where Book kind of falls there?
Among shooting guards, if you look on StatMuse, he has the best defensive rating among shooting guards. Individuals' defensive rating is not really a stat I put too much credence into, because it's noisy as far as who you're on the court with, how much you're on the court. Like, if you look at the Suns' on-off numbers on NBA.com as far as their defensive rating, all of the starters are lower than the bench guys because they're playing a lot more minutes against better competition. So those numbers can be kind of noisy, but when it comes to defense, especially with a defense like this that has so many moving parts and so many guys that can come in and out for each other, I feel like the eye test is a little bit more useful than something like defensive rating. But he does, on StatMuse at least, have the best defensive rating among shooting guards.
Well, I mean, if you're going to compare, wouldn't you compare within your position a little bit more? Yeah. Like, that holds a little more weight than just any position across all players, right?
Yeah, you could compare, but again, kind of to Gerald's point, like they don't really care who they switch up on too often, right? Especially on the perimeter. Like, Book can guard any number of positions 1 through 4. Same thing with Mikal. Same thing with even Chris Paul. Like, so, like it's almost the same argument about All-Star voting or not All-Star voting, but All NBA voting. Like, what position do you put this player at? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm kind of just so tired of like, oh, he's a shooting guard because he shoots a lot. Like, he should be the shooting guard, and that's what he is. Like, no, like, Book can play point. He can play small forward if you need to, because if you have two guards in the line, like, it doesn't matter. They're all kind of positionless. So, like, that's a cool stat, but it's kind of a meaningless stat.
Well, and defense, again, to your point, Gerald, is such a team effort, too. Like, very rarely is it one-on-one, especially in today's game where everybody's clearing out the lane and it's just mano-a-mano. It's a whole team effort in that. So it's tough to pick apart Book specifically when compared to the team defense. And this team defense is spectacular. So
yeah, and I don't, individual defensive rating, I'm not going to say any stat is useless, but that type of stat is best when paired with the eye test. Like, you always need the context behind the stat for it to make sense.
It's a great argument stat. Like, if you were like, oh, Devin Booker's the best defensive player in the league. You know why? Because StatMuse had it. Like, all right, dude, I get it. But
yeah, it's that one I wouldn't put it. We have a hard time quantifying and qualifying defense with stats, because it's always going to come down to what you're watching, and things like steals, blocks, and rebounds are always going to sway a lot of those advanced metrics further than they need to. So defense, more than any area of the game, this is probably going to be the case for a long time, you're not going to find one all-encompassing stat.
I mean, look at Jae Crowder as an example. Like, he's a perfect example. Like, stat-wise, he didn't move the needle very much, but he was arguably one of their best defenders last night because he knows how to play great team defense. And so the stats don't really tell the story.
Well, and I feel like it also doesn't these stats don't necessarily take into account for scheme too, because sometimes it'll be, oh, guys out of position. Well, that's the scheme. Like, there's a way that they're doing things defensively, so you got to take everything into account for it.
So you're saying people who vote on Defensive Player of the Year should have to watch a minimum number of games in order to have a vote?
If you have a vote on anything, you probably should have a minimum number of games required.
But especially when we're talking defense, if the eye test means more than the stats, right? I'm just saying. I'm being petty. I'm sorry.
Well, you would think so, but he is a finalist, and there are a lot of good candidates this year, so that tells me the vote could be very split. That gives Mikal more of a chance.
I thought it was just Marcus Smart, and that was all.
Well, that's he's on the East Coast, so it's easier to watch those games.
That's gonna make things complicated. And I feel like someone brought it up in the chat that like people mentioned how Book and CP3 being MVP candidates kind of cancel each other out, and that didn't really happen with Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, because Robert Williams was as much a part of their defensive dominance, especially in the back half of the year, as anyone. I don't know. I hope Mikal wins. He doesn't have a conventional stat-based case. I went over this on the website, but like the stats aren't in his favor in any regard. But if you watch him play and the amount of minutes that he plays against the league's best and the job he does against them, he has a legitimate case, even if it's unconventional.
Did he mention anything at practice just about even being a finalist for that award?
Yeah, I mean, he had said, he was honored by it, but he always deflects. He always kind of dodges praise about himself. So he was giving props to his guys around him, because he says he can't do what he does without that interconnectivity that they have in that starting lineup and the guys around him and the way that they're able to cover for him or help him or take other assignments. He always downplays what he does, but
I really hope he wins.
That would be nice.
I'm pulling for him.
He takes after the mentality of his coach. Who deflects as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we all know NBA playoffs mean next level basketball, and you guys can get in on the first round action with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly. You win no matter what. Plus, each day of the first round, get a risk-free bet up to $10 if your same-game parlay does not hit.
Oh, yeah, same-game parlay.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the first round of the playoffs and get $150 in free bets instantly. Once again, that is promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Just a reminder, that's 21 and older only, Arizona only, gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only, minimum $5 minimum deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. I also want to remind everybody that 420 is just around the corner, a.k.a. my birthday, and you can celebrate.
Hold on. Wait, you're a 420, baby?
Yeah, how did you guys not
buried
know
the
that?
lead.
We just learned this now.
You absolutely buried the lead.
It's not my fault you guys don't know me.
The intro right there was all about my birthday's coming up. So OG's is in the house. It's perfect combination.
Oh, man.
That's what I said.
Once again, guys, why do I know that and you guys don't?
Thank you, Shane. Shane cares
Why
about
do you
me.
know that, Shane? Why are you throwing us under the bus?
It's just another thing, I guess. I don't know.
I feel like Shane knows anybody that was born on 420. I just feel like that's a hobby of Shane.
Everybody think I smoke weed.
Don't discredit Shane's friendship towards me. Okay?
Oh, we've already discredited it. We don't even have to say
Shane
it. We've already
clearly
discredited
cares about me as a person if he knows when my birthday is.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
I'll never forget when your birthday is.
It's
now.
really easy to remember.
You've
That's all
never
I'm
told
saying.
me
If you
before.
forget it, there's a problem.
The beanies
Anyway,
make so much sense.
420 and my birthday are coming up. We're just a couple days away, and you guys can celebrate with our friends at OG's. They're really good people with amazing scratch-made THC gummies. Our PHNX family hung out with them at the Buds-a-Palooza this past Friday, and they gave away 2 tickets to Game 1. And if you weren't able to join in on that fun, you can still show our friends at OG some love and have your own kind of fun. They have amazing flavors like orange creamsicle, tropical, watermelon. So definitely check them out if you are interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's Brands has to offer. Go to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com to find OGs near you.
If you could have a birthday flavor for you, Lindsey, what would it be?
I feel like the tropical one sounds interesting and kind of right up my alley with the gummy, but like a blue raspberry also sounds really good.
You don't want to create like your own blend
That seems like a lot of work.
for your birthday?
No.
That is the most.
You're not
Lindsey
literally
thing.
blending
That
it
seems like a lot
yourself.
of work. Thinking
Well,
that makes is
my
difficult.
favorite, like if we're talking gummies, right? Sour Patch Kids are like one of my favorite gummy candies. And
Which-
the blue
which
and the
one?
red
There
are
you
the
go.
top
Mhm.
choices.
So then
Red's
blend those two
trash.
together.
Red is delightful.
Red is trash.
No.
What's your favorite Starburst color? I need to know.
Yellow.
Pink.
It's pink.
Pink
You
is the
say
goat.
red Sour Patch are trash, and your favorite Starburst is yellow. I no longer trust your opinion.
He's drinking Coke Zero. Of course his taste is trash.
I mean, Coke Original is good.
Coke is
Zero
the bomb.
Hey,
Coke
let's
Zero
not
is
rip any
awful.
potential sponsors.
Yeah.
Except
Well,
for
hey,
red.
If Coke comes in here, if Coke Zero comes in here, I will wear all your shit. I don't care because I will sell out like that.
I won't. If it's a red Sour Patch Kid, screw that noise.
He's like, I'm out.
I'm done.
I refuse.
Still waiting on Monroe's.
All right, guys, let's take a look
Ooh,
ahead.
a hot chicken edible.
It's Gus's now, man. Monroe's is
Ooh,
gone.
I don't know
No.
about that.
The Gus is the goat, dude.
Do they have hot chicken sandwich or spicy chicken sandwiches?
Yeah, dude.
See, these are
No.
different categories of foods, honestly.
I smell
True.
a draft later in the week.
Oh,
man.
boy. Just
Well, he won't
ruining
be
friendships
here.
left and right.
He'll be in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. I'm ducking the draft. I'm chicken. That was a back-to-back.
That's a freaking dad joke right
Wow.
there. That was very good.
Fair or foul?
Ah, there you go.
Oh, my.
So sorry.
gosh. Y'all are 0 for 2 on dad jokes this week.
Whoa.
I'm like 3 for
we're-
3.
No.
Yeah.
We've
We've murdered the game in dad jokes this week.
We're in the ring of honor of dad jokes.
Yes.
Let's move
All
on.
right. Let's take a look ahead at game 2, kind of preview it a little bit. What adjustments do you guys think need to be made by the Suns?
Just fucking rebound. That's it. That's it. Just rebound. Rebound the fucking basketball, and you're going to win by like 40. That's all.
Look, you don't even have to, and you can win by 11. We saw that.
That's true.
So just go out there and play with intensity, and that's all. Just stay locked in. The only thing that can beat this Suns team in this series is if they have a mental lapse and they do it for more than one quarter. I mean, that's when they'll be in trouble. But otherwise, this should be a series where they can just play their brand of basketball, even with the rebounding deficiency, and be fine. But you know Willie Green's going to adjust. You know he's going to make changes, but there's not enough there to do it.
I'm interested to see what Willie Green does. I think on the Suns side, obviously, the rebounding thing is the biggest item. And I'll be writing about this for tomorrow, doing a deep dive into all of the rebounds, like what went wrong. But my initial impressions are there was some ball watching from the wings. There were a couple of instances where DA just didn't put a body on JV. And other than that, like there were a couple that were kind of like, is that really an offensive? Like a couple of them were blocks from the Suns that just were returned to the Pelicans, and that counts as an offensive
Like
rebound.
the one, I think it was a block off the backboard, and JV dunked it off the backboard. I was like, okay. I mean,
there were like 2 or 3 of those. So, I'm not saying that lets them off the hook, but like in a couple of those instances, the number was a little more inflated than, 25 offensive rebounds, 29 second chance points sounds. But for me, I'm more interested in what the Pelicans try to do to adjust, because like there's not an adjustment that's there for them to get them in the series. You can take Jackson Hayes off the floor and put Trey Murphy in there to have some floor spacing. But, if you go Larry Nance, Chris Paul cooked Larry Nance off the dribble last night too. So there isn't like, they're going to target somebody. And I love Devin Booker for telling us this. He mentioned the term pigeon is something that they use to describe someone who doesn't play defense on the other end that they're kind of targeting. Like last year, Michael Porter Jr. was the fattest pigeon out on the court. Like this year, I think in this series, at least Jackson Hayes was a big one. Larry Nance turned into one unexpectedly. So these are guys that, in the Water Boy, when he's lining up the onside kick and he looks at the guy and he's like scared.
There's my bitch.
Yeah, that's exactly what pigeon means for this team. So I am kind of interested to see
It's
what
like
they
the
do.
politically correct. Of course, Monty came up with a nice, easy term.
I don't know if
for
it's
this.
Monty or if it's the guys, but Devin Booker just dropped that, and I thought it was interesting. I was like, why pigeon? I need to follow up about this.
Fabio in the chat, Michael Pigeon Jr. Love it.
Great.
You know what I found interesting? It felt like Willie Green was sending 4 guys to crash the boards at time on the offensive end, but that also opened up when we saw the Suns running the other way too. So it's a game of chance that they're really playing by doing that. And if the Suns just take care of things like they did in that first half, they're off to the races.
You saw it, didn't you?
I did. I'm like, now I can't unsee it. Damn it. Oh, man. Somebody made a very funny comment in the chat, but I'm not going to repeat
Some
it.
jokes are not appropriate for the audio. You just have to come to the live to be able to see what's happening in the chat.
my gosh.
That's just all there is to it.
Oh God.
I looked up and I was like, oh no.
Okay, two things. First thought on the offensive rebounding and just rebounding in general. It is something that every single player and coach that we've talked to since the end of last night's game has addressed.
Yes.
If not once, maybe 3 or 4 times. So it's at the top of their mind, obviously. And this was kind of funny, I thought, came out of practice today. Cam Johnson said he told his mom before Sunday night's game he was going to get 10 rebounds. He only ended up having 1. And he's like, I really let her down. She was pretty upset. So now I really got to make good on my promise in game 2. I thought that was cute. Little mom encouragement there. You got something to live up to now.
Yeah, he was saying like the first thing out of her mouth went, because apparently at the Johnson household, he goes home and they'll all like watch games, and like all of his family members, brothers, mom and dad will like pick apart things that happen in the game, like areas where he can improve or things he did well. And so the first thing his mom told him was like, you promised me 10 rebounds and you got me 1.
Man, they must have had a field day when Puff yacked on the court.
Poor Puff.
I thought Puff was having a heart attack, man. I was like,
that was scary for a second.
That
was pretty scary.
Out there. He gave it.
He almost
his all.
left his soul out there too. Man. I was like, what is going on with my
ball
guy?
boys and that the kids that got to run out there and clean the court. Yeah, that's
That's
But-
right.
Have you ever thrown up in a sporting event?
no
think so.
football
Practice.
practice once, but not
Practice?
not in an action.
I dry heaved several times in the middle of basketball games.
Oh, in the middle of basketball games?
Like I was
man.
literally like coming up the court and I was just, like, but I would get that second win right after that, and then I was good for the rest of the game.
Second win.
Oh yeah,
Donovan McNabb.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, basically, you know.
I have a story for this if you want to hear it.
Of course.
We had a party in college for my fraternity, and the next day was a philanthropy event of 3-on-3 basketball, half-court basketball.
Ooh.
And I was very out of shape, and we wanted to win, so I tried very hard. And after the game, if you're eating, please just pause this and finish your food and then come back. I filled up a Gatorade bottle and a half of throw-up so I wouldn't get it on the court. And so from then on, that
The
sorority
psychological
movie is
issue that you have to hold the bottle,
And
hack
be
in
able
the
to
bottle.
make it in there?
It's a very refined.
that probably was the
danger.
only shot he made all day too. So,
I had 13, 5, and 7. I keep those stats.
you
telling you,
remember that?
We are going to have a damn athletic competition in this bitch
not fair.
because I too bad.
The presidential
Like,
fitness test?
there's
Is
just-
that what we're doing
This
here?
is ridiculous. The shaming that is going on. You just shamed him.
I did like that he had
And-
to have the qualifier that like we wanted to win.
Yeah.
So I tried hard.
Michaela trying to shame us in her stupid lineup of baseball.
I have to be
my
the first
gosh.
base coach. I'm not ready.
I
Give me
forgot where
6
I was.
months.
I was
Like-
batting
I
fifth
think I
as
was
the
a
DH.
catcher.
I was like,
That
I'm
seems
a
fair.
relief pitcher. I don't
No.
want to hear it.
no. No.
Can you get us back on the rails, Lindsey?
Sure, why not? Y'all talked about the adjustments that you're curious to see from the Pelicans. Do you have any thoughts, any predictions on what those might be?
Well, in practice today, apparently he told Pelicans writers that he's not going to make an adjustment because his reasoning was, we just had a bad first half. I'm looking at the film of that game and I'm like, you had a bad first half for a reason. Like Jackson Hayes played 11 minutes and was a minus 11. And that doesn't sound like a lot. It looked worse than it was plus minus wise, but like that kind of stuff matters in a playoff game where every margin is important. Like I said, I would put Murphy in there because he's a shooter. I know he's a rookie, but he's a good guy who can spread the floor from 3-point range, which they didn't have a lot of release valves for CJ. He was being hounded wherever he turned. They need a little bit of floor spacing to open things up. Jackson Hayes doesn't provide any of that. You lose a little bit of the offensive rebounding threat, but like JV had that covered by himself. So I think that's what you do. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with a little more Larry Nance, a little more Trey Murphy, but for right now, at least, it sounds like Willie Green is setting us up for the starters are going to be the same.
If I'm Willie Green, I reconsider the pressing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem to be impacting the Suns, at least in game one, the way that they had hoped. There's too many guys that can bring the ball up for the Suns, and it just seems like it's a whole lot of effort that's going to waste in my mind defensively. I'd probably drop back that coverage, but that's just me.
I mean, there's not really much. Again, going back to your point, there's not much adjusting he can do,
Right.
Because there's going to be a mismatch, and they're going to put themselves at a disadvantage at just about every single turn. So, no, that's why they pay him the big bucks and not us.
Right. You like that was the killer last night, I think, is because you look at Chris Paul during the regular season, he shot less than 32% from three. He didn't have a good shooting year. So they go under a couple of screens. He knocks down 3 threes back to back. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? Because you double him, he's going to get the ball out, and the Suns have the playmakers to make you pay. You put Herb Jones on Book, then Chris Paul's going to be the one that picks you apart again. And Book got off to a great start last night with Herb Jones on CP3. So, like, what? There's not a ton you can do. You can try and throw all different things in the kitchen sink at the Suns, but they're going to find a way to get around it.
The only adjustment they can make is pray to God that McCallum and Ingram go off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which will be hard to do when you're facing defenses like the Suns,
Yep.
Mikal, Jae, DA. Like it's going to be a difficult challenge for them. They might have moments within games where they go on like a little bit of a heater, but can they sustain that throughout the course of an entire game against this Suns defense? Remains to be seen, but I say no.
No, and then on their defensive side, when you've got freaking DA hitting threes and what looked like an actual play run for him to shoot that three, like you're running out of options. You can't hide guys anywhere. It's just a mismatch, and this is why it's the 1-9 matchup, because they were the 9th best team in the West. Like, there's a reason that there's this big of a gap between these teams, and you're seeing it right now. The Suns are just more talented, so it is a pick your poison. You're going to get picked apart regardless of where you go.
Unless Zion comes back.
That's not happening.
I know it's not happening. I'm just saying, like, hey, at some point, they're going to be desperate, and they're going to maybe, if Zion's like right there, they might say, hey, let's just pray for a miracle and hope that this is a difference.
Zion looks like me right now. Like, I don't think he's coming in.
That's not fair.
He looks out of shape because he's had a foot injury all year. He's not going to be in NBA shape and be able to come in and have a massive impact on a series. Like, it's just not going to happen. I don't see how that's going to be even a break glass in case of emergency kind of thing here. For the Pelicans, this is already a win of a season because they got to this point. I don't see them risking the future to try to steal a game from the Suns.
Coda, that's the whole point of my comment, is that they would be reaching by pulling in Zion. I'm not saying Zion will come in and do shit. I'm just saying, like, that's the only thing that I could see changing anything or any dynamic whatsoever for the Pelicans, is by hoping and praying for a miracle that Zion came in and actually was a force.
Right. And I think it's, obviously we all know the unlikelihood that he'll actually return, but I agree with you. If he did come back, it does change things. It adds another bruiser where the Suns are a little bit more vulnerable in that regard in their starting five. And the Pelicans, they just need another option. Like, they need more firepower, because if you can get away with Mikal sticking CJ and Jae Crowder harassing Brandon Ingram all over the court, like, you don't have any other release valves. You don't have any other outlets. You don't have enough firepower. Zion would help them in that respect. But again, the likelihood that he's able to not only come back, but come back and be an immediate factor, that's a tough ask.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even if he did come back and he was any sort of a factor in this game, it would maybe get them one win. I don't think it would be enough to push a series into their favor against the Suns.
No,
So it's irrelevant.
On the defensive end, it would give another guy the Suns could exploit. I mean, you get a switch.
Yeah.
You know that Devin Booker and Chris Paul are going to go right at Zion, who's coming off a foot injury and is struggling. So that would not shock me to see them just pick him apart if they come back. I just don't. They're not going to bring.
I'm going to say this right now because I feel like we're kind of losing sight of. The Pelicans aren't a great team, but they did play better basketball down the stretch, and they won 2 play-in games to get to this point. I think you're going to see a much better effort from the Pelicans tomorrow. I think they're just going to play overall better, and it'll be a closer game tomorrow. But the Suns will still win. I think the Suns will still win by 10 or 11, but it'll be closer throughout the game as opposed to a blowout right off the bat. And then we just kind of sat here and just kind of wondered, okay, can we run this clock out? And then the third quarter happened and things got a little dicey. And then they blew him out again because Chris Paul is Chris Paul. So I think tomorrow's going to be a much better effort all the way from the start to finish.
But I think you won't see the Suns have a third quarter like they did. You won't see a quarter where there's a major lapse. I think this will just be a more consistent game from both teams overall.
Mm-hmm. I think we might see the script flipped. I think the first half will be more competitive than last night, and I think it'll be one of those cases where the Suns just take care of business in the second half like we've seen them do so many times.
Yep.
By the way, to the person in the chat asking where you can get this sweet PHNX hat, you can go to PHNXLocker.com and pick up yours.
Gerald, is there anything else from practice today that stood out to you that you'd like to share with the group?
I mean, there was a ton of stuff. When we've got come playoff time, we got a lot more people in the building, so we got a lot of questions.
Valuable stuff is what we meant.
Yes, yeah. So, no, I think we pretty much covered the big thing. Monty, he talked a lot about the first hit mentality as far as putting bodies on guys when they're crashing, and that seemed to be the general consensus. We talked to Mikal and Cam as well. Cam Johnson, he was asked about what it means to be a Sixth Man of the Year finalist, and his thing was like, I'm chalking this up to a group award for our bench mob, which I think we can kind of agree is, Cam was obviously their best bench player this season, but, he doesn't have like a realistic shot of winning, but it is cool that he's kind of in that conversation because he did have a great year, and he's emblematic of how good the Suns bench was this year. So that was kind of cool. Him and Mikal both downplaying what they do and giving props to their teammates.
Thank you, Gerald. Appreciate you. All right, guys, with playoffs officially in full swing, we're going to be hosting some fun gatherings, some watch parties. We're all going to be going to arenas. We want to make sure everyone's staying safe and healthy. So COVID-19s are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also now
COVID-19 shots, people.
For a booster. Yeah. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location near you.
I mean, COVID-19 is free for everybody.
What did I say?
You said COVID-19s are for everybody. I was like, what? Shots, people.
COVID-19 vaccines are free. Sorry.
I mean, the virus is free too, let's be fair.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
That's true.
Oh, man.
Dang it.
Don't worry. I know how you feel, Linz.
Oh, no.
I did that last night.
All right. Well, it's time for some screenshots. So let's get into it. Who wants to start us off here?
I can.
Okay, Espo, you take it away.
I'll start. Right before the show, I saw this tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski that freaking starting lineup figurines are coming back in September, and I am irrationally excited for some really dumb pieces of plastic of NBA and NFL athletes. These were a part of my childhood. Had a bunch of Barkley, Marley. I think I had a Tom Chambers.
We have a Steve Nash one somewhere.
But I am irrationally. No, that's a McFarlane figurine. That is not a starting lineup over there. But these are much cheesier than the McFarlanes. But I want a Devin Booker. I need a Devin Booker starting lineup, and I may be able to get that in September.
Were they the ones that were like on the like pole that could like rotate?
No, that was like McFarlane. These literally were. They like came with a basketball. They came with a basketball or baseball or football card. Okay. They basically were stationary. They had a little stand on them. Basically, pointless plastic that you would set on something. Okay. That you didn't really need, but I will buy far too many of them when they come out.
Didn't the McFarlane ones also have a stand and a platform?
Yeah. McFarlane ones were more, they looked like art. These were like, you could barely tell that it was the athlete that it was supposed to be, and you really were just like, cool. That kind of looks like the Suns jersey. Cool. And but they were like $8 at Toys R Us, so you could con your parents into them. So.
Saul, you've got 2. You want to start with one?
Yeah, let's go with just pop any one of them up there, Shane. All right, this one, I can't read it.
Says, my buddy pours cereal milk back in the carton post-cereal consumption. What say you, Twitter?
And there was a handful of people in those comments that said, genius, and then the other half were like, you're effing disgusting. What? I will say this. If you pour your milk back into the carton, you are not only a psycho, but you should be locked up forever. That is gross.
But is it just like one one cereal? Like you have a milk for each cereal you eat? Because I'm not putting my daughter's Lucky Charms milk in with some Cinnamon Toast Crunch milk. That just sounds like ass.
How do you know? How do you know that would be ass? Have you ever tried
if
it?
You've never
I could
tried
tell
it.
you, it would be ass.
No, I don't know. That
Yeah.
actually, you kind of stumbled onto something right there. I might want to try that.
No.
That's some like serial killer tendencies.
Yeah,
there.
that's
Pun
not
intended or pun intended?
I'm killing it today.
Oh, no. High five.
It's my birthday week, and the dad jokes just keep on going. Which is
They're our
fine.
gift to you.
Well,
I'm just messing
if you
with
fight
guys.
it,
They're funny.
they'll come back even further.
I feel like you need to bottle the. Now I'm thinking like places should sell flavored milk like that, not
They
just
do.
chocolate.
They
but
do.
Here's Lucky Charms flavored milk.
They do.
They do.
They
Yeah.
do?
Okay, they
Yeah.
also have, there's an ice
What?
cream place in town that makes ice cream out of milk that's been soaked in the cereal first.
That sounds like a waste of cereal.
And then they use that milk to make the ice cream, and apparently it's bomb.
It's bomb as hell.
What do they do with the cereal?
That's my
I'm
problem.
guessing throw it away.
What a waste!
That's a waste of food.
There are hungry children that would happily eat your soaky cereal or soggy cereal. Whatever the hell I'm trying to say.
Soaky cereal.
Soaky cereal.
Soaky
yeah.
cereal.
He's still not wrong.
I'm not. Yeah, they would eat.
Soaky?
I mean, is it any
Soaky's not
different
even a
than
word.
It is now.
you could make the argument that it's the same when you're cooking and you use like a juice from like a lemon or lime. You're throwing away the pulp and things of that
But
sort.
that's the point
That's like
of
juice.
the fruit is to get the juice. The cereal, the point of it is to eat said cereal.
But you're doing the same thing in theory.
You're still throwing away food.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is we need to do a soggy cereal bracket next time.
Yes.
You know
Like,
what?
what cereal has the best milk?
Oh,
Fruity Pebbles for the win all day long.
That's
Okay, you know what I
Cocoa
had the
Pebbles,
other
too.
day? Oh shit, now I forgot about it. It's the thing that has the frog on the front of it.
Smacks.
Smacks.
They're so good.
Yes.
I totally forgot about
Bro,
this cereal.
Smacks.
Literally was talking about that the other day.
But I didn't know what it was because I had completely forgot about it. I needed to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so bomb.
Smacks.
By the way,
Smacks
by the way, thank you to bees. Soaky is totally a word for sure. Yep.
Use it in a sentence besides soaky or cereal.
I was out in the rain and my socks got all soaky.
Soaked.
That was quick. That was really quick.
I'm going to contend soaked. Wouldn't soaked be the word there?
Yeah.
It
My
could be
socks got
soaky too.
soaked.
Soaky. So
Let
he's like
Espo
a,
have this,
I'm just-
Gerald. Just let him have it.
Gerald, I can
let him
argue
have
fake
it.
words with you all day if you want to go down this rabbit hole.
I guess we can.
my socks
Mr.
are all
Festival.
soaky.
Gerald, what's your screenshot?
Yeah, so we got a new trailer today, a teaser trailer for Thor Love and Thunder, and it was just a nice reminder of me picking my childhood crush exquisitely because Natalie Portman as Thor is just going to make life better.
Ah,
hold on.
Natalie Portman girl, huh?
Oh,
Was
yeah.
that was that from Star Wars?
Phantom Menace 100%.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, a million times.
I thought it was
Oh, for
closer,
sure.
but then I figured it probably
For sure. Yeah.
For those of you that get that reference,
I
congratulations.
would turn to the dark side for her too.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm really excited for you, Gerald.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought that trailer was underwhelming when we've gotten.
It's just a teaser.
I get
a
it, but
teaser.
we've had No Way Home and
We've had like a
then we get
million
into
freaking
Here's my
movies.
theory is that it ties because we got a trailer super late. Like this comes out in a couple months. I think what happens in this movie ties directly into what happens in Doctor Strange, so they don't want to spoil anything.
So you're thinking
That's
we get
my
a
guess.
little Natalie Portman as Thor in the multiverse of madness.
I think so.
Ah.
And I'm here for it.
I don't know what any
How
of this means.
exciting.
Nerd talk.
The
I am
most
so lost
patronizing
right
shit.
now. No idea.
Okay, the first one was genuine. The second one was, yeah,
Oh,
a
man.
little bit. I am very excited
Well,
for
thank you. Thank you. I'm excited for me too.
Gerald's mostly excited for all the ladies dressing as Lady Thor for Halloween this year. You know, like,
My girlfriend is going to be ecstatic about that.
He said, I am
He's like, no comment.
exercising my right. to
Gerald
not-
physically put his hands up.
I plead the fifth. Leave me.
I didn't
leave
do
me.
this.
Oh no.
All right, my screenshot was last night. Kyle Kuzma tweeted out Phoenix best crowd in the league. This confirms it. Kyle Kuzma will become a Phoenix Sun next season. Argue with your mother. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Maybe when he's a free agent, but I think he has enormous amount of money left on his contract.
Do you
at least for
remember
one
when
more
the
year.
Suns were bad and anytime anybody tweeted about them, that was the immediate reaction? Like, it's confirmed. This guy's coming to the Suns.
Everybody and their mom was going to be a
Everything's
Sun.
going to change, you guys.
And then everybody was like, Chris Paul's going to get traded to the Suns. And everyone was like, shut the fuck up.
That is the dumbest
That's
thing
not
I've
going to
ever
ever
heard.
happen. Why would they do that? Then he got traded.
$44
What?
million.
But I
would
do
say
like this tweet, though, because it is cool to start seeing. We've known for a while that this Suns fan base is diehard, right? Yes, we went through some really rough years where things were a little bit lighter and thinner as far as fans at the arena and cheering it on. But we all know that Phoenix is a basketball city, and this fan base loves this team. And it's cool to see players from other franchises recognizing the home court advantage that Phoenix does have.
As Sean says in the chat, Lightskin's taking over Phoenix. Hashtag Lightskin. There you go, Sean.
I feel like Lindsey would not like Kyle Kuzma in town because he'd be encroaching on her beanie style because he's
Stay out of my
you know.
territory.
We'd probably have to fight.
But do you remember when Stephen A. Smith suggested that the Suns should trade Devin Booker for Kyle Kuzma?
God,
Yeah,
that was
good
the dumbest-
times.
That was the dumbest shit.
Welcome to the other side of hard, gentlemen and
Yeah.
ladies. This is where we are now.
We
no
did
more
it, you
Stephen
guys.
Smith.
We made it.
It is interesting though, because you rarely hear players from other teams talk about another fan base, and that they always say
Right.
like, "Oh, we have the best fans in the NBA." You know, like Orlando, we have the best fans. Okay, sure, buddy. But like to hear him go on Twitter, that is kind of cool because we this fan base has been through the ringer, and like I've said a bunch of times, and everybody on the Suns has said this too. There is no playoff environment like Phoenix, like what we've seen this year already and last year especially.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Saul, you have one final screenshot.
Yeah, this travesty of a screenshot right here. This piece of artwork was hanging somewhere at some restaurant and said, "Bro, we want to Neo's last night." I don't know where Neo's is. This NBA painting has us dying. Look at the faces. And first of all, there's so many questions. Number one, why is Chris Paul in there twice on the left-hand side with the Rockets and with the Clippers?
Is that good?
And then you have Larry Bird in the background. He's the only one of the prior generation or the 80s. I don't understand that either.
Why?
Then you have like
Kurt Heinrich. Why is
Kurt Heinrich
in it?
has made an appearance.
That's the one that stood out to me.
Did Kurt Heinrich take up painting?
I don't even know what is happening in this photo. It is the pictures. That's the thing that got me. The screenshots of people zooming in on some of these images are just like, oh my gosh, my guy just saw Satan. There was just all types of comments about it that were fantastic.
Okay, like what did they do to James Harden first of all? Because that's not James Harden.
He's got a big ass head.
Second of all, Larry Bird looks like what's that picture of the screaming person?
Edward Munch's The Scream. Yeah.
Yes, the Scream. He looks like the Scream in the background. He looks terrified.
It actually looks like the guy that played Larry Bird in Winning Time. It looked like they painted him. Just a lot of weird stuff
And Chris
going
Paul
on
down
there.
in the corner looks like Andre Iguodala. I can't.
I still can't get past. How does Kirk Heinrich sneak into that photo?
Go bring that photo back up.
I'm telling you, Kirk Heinrich
So if
painted
you look,
this.
if you look in the back, you see an image of like what's supposed to be, I think, Michael Jordan, but it says somebody said when your uncle in the military buys you Jordans from Korea, this is the symbol on the tongue. Yes, 1,000,000%. Like so many things that are flawed with this.
Oh man.
All right, I'm going to be that person because surprise, when am I not? I think it's not terrible. Like, sure, the faces aren't great, but like what y'all three of you put your heads together, you could create that.
Well,
I'm just saying.
But I wouldn't try.
I don't have a problem
Yeah,
with
but
the
artists
art.
have to start somewhere.
No, yeah, you can start anywhere you want. You don't have to put that shit in a restaurant.
I'm buying that
Like
painting.
you deserve to get
fine with
roasted for a
it.
shitty painting if you want to put it out in the public.
Hold
I'm
on.
fine with it.
I'm buying that painting and getting it in our studio.
Oh
Do
man.
it.
I'm going to find
Matter
it
of
and
fact,
get it in
you
the
know what?
studio.
We will paint things, and I guarantee you we can come close to something like that.
I don't-
No, you couldn't.
I don't have a problem
No,
with the painting.
you could not.
I don't have a problem with the painting itself, but Lindsay, explain to me why Kurt Heinrich is on the freaking picture.
That I don't know. Maybe it
Okay.
was like a childhood
Well,
favorite.
the great thing
or
is
something of that
apparently
sort.
the same artist has another photo, and it's hanging up in a restaurant in Lawrence, Kansas, of all places, and it's of Miles Simon, the former U of A basketball player, dribbling in the national championship, but for Kansas.
That's strange.
Hey,
Yeah.
Take your L. It sucked.
it's a multiverse.
I will say though,
madness.
if you look at that painting though, while the faces are a little bit rough, everything else is pretty solid. So maybe it's just working on the faces.
I'm buying
part
that
of it.
painting for the
Okay.
year.
They
I
look
will
like they're
find it.
terrified. They look like they're literally watching like a building crash in front of their eyes.
Go to kids says, bro, I bet the owner of the restaurant's son painted that. Man, we're ripping on it.
So
We're gonna find out.
so?
That's what I'm saying.
Some poor kid. It was a Make-A-Wish painting that he wanted his art in a restaurant, and we're sitting here making fun of it.
I obviously I'm
Love
kidding about being able
right?
to paint something like that. That does take a high degree of skill for sure. However, that doesn't mean I can't say it's a bad painting.
Is Larry Bird shooting left-handed?
Yes.
Hey, Bird
Yes.
was that great.
Yep.
You could shoot whatever hand you wanted, all right?
Yep. I
Oh
mean,
my
the stories about
gosh.
Larry Bird. I mean, we can go on and on about that. So,
Go watch the latest episode of Winning Time.
I haven't seen it yet.
Bird's in it.
No spoiler alerts. Last thing I got for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Oh,
it's more for the fans. We dropped a new shirt,
Oh, okay.
and it's pretty dope.
You sickos, go
Valley
get the new shirt.
Sickos. Yeah, check it out at phnxlocker.com. It's pretty cool. You should definitely grab one. And right now, if you become a member of gophnx.com, you can get a shirt of your choice for free from our locker. This would be a good one to snag. I'm just saying.
Make sure you're buying it from the PHNXLocker.com and not getting the Valley Gerald Bourguet sicko shirt that's on apparently some knockoff site.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
Somebody posted in our Slack like at the start of the show. The title of it is like PHNX Gerald Bourguet like shirt.
Oh my God, that's
Some
amazing.
Yeah, Derek Monty, our D-backs host, did it. It says Phoenix Suns Gerald Bourguet Valley Sicko shirt.
Love that. Love that.
So get the real thing. Don't get the knockoff with Gerald's name in it.
Yeah, Gerald.
Don't
Gerald's
get my
name-
knockoff.
Gerald's name is just so SEO friendly. You gotta throw it in there.
Yeah, that's phnxlocker.com if you want the real authentic thing. And we can't speak for anybody else's shirts, but I can speak for our shirts. They're really soft. They're really
I
comfy.
can speak for the knockoffs. That shit sucks. Get the real deal.
Yeah.
It's
all
gonna
right?
itch. It's gonna
first
be
of all,
scratchy.
if you pay on the knockoff site, you run risking losing your money completely.
That's true.
And then you're getting an authentic 100% cotton shirt that is just going to be completely uncomfortable. And we don't do that shit. We have nice quality material that we put our shirts on, and they don't shrink when you wash them.
And our lawyers will sue the shit out of you too. That's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Just letting you know. So PHNXLocker.com. Come on in.
All right, that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you for joining us. As always, we will be right back here tomorrow with a pregame show. And then, of course, after the game ends, we'll be live on our YouTube channel as well. Until then, have a great day. And you can follow me on Twitter at Lindsey Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourguet. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Gerald, it was nice to have you in the studio. We'll see you sometime in the second round. Ahoy, hoy.
Turn up the tempo. Got to understand me. I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like Dan G. No plan B. Always on the job. My team move like the mob. Turn the beat on. I throw it down like DA on the live. Best combo since KJ, Marley, and Charles. If you squad, just sitting on the chat. Get involved.